This video is sponsored by Kershaw, Next Level Pocket Knives. Use discount code 20archery23 for 20% off at kershawknives.com. Hey Archery Talk, this is Lucas, and this time of year I like to get all of the hunting bows together and look at which draw cycle feels the best to me. I know that speed tests are kind of what people are really after for the most part, but draw cycle is a more important factor for me. It might be it's because I'm lucky because I have a long draw length, so I usually get the speed I want anyway out of any bow. But draw cycle means the world to me, because if I can't shoot a bow comfortably and repeatably, I don't really want to shoot it all that much. So I've got 4 bows in for testing this year. I've got the Botec SR350, which they actually sent just at the end of the videos I shot last year. We've got an Elite Omnia, which is another speed bow. We've got the Prime Rev X4 and the Mathews Phase 429. So really this is going to be kind of a tale of 2 different groups of 2 bows. We have the 2 speed bows and the Bowtech and the Elite, and the 2 kind of more traditional, comfortable hunting bows in the Prime and the Mathews. So let's get to it and see which ones I like best, and I'll try to explain why. So number 1 for me this year, and it was as close as it gets, and I'll get into that in a little while, is going to be the Mathews Phase 429. If you've been a viewer of this channel for any number of years now, you'll know I'm a big fan of how the Mathews cross-centric cams make a bow feel at draw, and this is no exception. Let's run you through one right now. I'll get an arrow knocked up, and this bow, this is a 70-pound bow by the way, and it is as buttery smooth as it gets. There's not really a noticeable dump into the valley. There's plenty of valley, so you can hold it at draw for as long as you need to. But again, it doesn't feel like it's dumping in there, which is never a feeling I'd really like in a bow. The letdown, not terrible. For a bow of this kind of speed range, it's pretty good. No worries about that at all. But it's mostly the draw that I like so much. It's just as super smooth as it gets. It might feel just a touch smoother than the bow I shot last year from Mathews, which really had the exact same specs. So maybe that's just in my head. And it's also, of course, dead quiet like all Mathews bows have been lately. Number 2 on this list, and it's no surprise, is the Prime Rev X4. This absolutely could have been number 1 for me on a different day or another archer. I love shooting this bow. It is the favorite prime draw cycle I've ever had a chance to shoot, and I absolutely could have put this at number 1. I'm going to knock an arrow here, and we'll kind of walk you through the draw cycle a little bit. Much like the Mathews, does not feel like 70 pounds. Again, I am a fairly skinny guy, and a 70-pound bow can sometimes be a handful, but I can draw this 100 times a day and let it down super easily. It's got an ample valley, and maybe compared to the Mathews, you can feel maybe the slightest dip here, but hardly obnoxious. It's barely there at all. I'm really picking nits, if I'm going to be honest with you. Again, this is an absolute treat to shoot, and holds on target like an absolute champ. And that's why it's number 2. So as you might expect, there's a significant dip between number 2 and 3. The last 2 bows are speed bows by their very names. And up number 3 on this list is going to be the Botec SR350. This bow actually came out as a 2022 model. I just didn't get it until after I finished doing the shootout last year. So I figured I would include it this time around. And as far as a speed bow goes, the draw is actually quite pleasant, but it is, make no mistake, it is definitely a speed bow. So I'm going to draw this here for you and kind of walk you through the process of my thinking and why this is number 3. The beginning of the draw cycle is actually pretty light, all things considered. It really picks up in the second half. Right here is the cam, that giant cam starts to rotate. It's a noticeable dump into the valley. The good news is the valley is actually reasonably deep for a speed bow. It's kind of easy to hold at full draw, which I like a lot. It's just fairly stiff to get over that last bit, and letting it down is a little aggressive, as you might expect. But you know, as far as the speed bow goes, if you want that extra speed, and this one is plenty fast, the SR350 absolutely has it. So I've got the Elite Omnia in 4th place, and that's not to say this is a bad bow to draw. It's just, but it's a speed bow, and the speed bows can be a little uncomfortable. In this one, especially if you're looking at the lower let-off and that, you know, that 70 to 80% range, it can be a handful. I'm going to draw this a couple times and run you through the process. Please excuse how loud it is to draw. I didn't put any felt on this arrow rest, so there's a little bit of scraping noises, don't mind that. And I'll walk you through the draw cycle a little bit. So, like the Bowtech, the first, quarter of that draw cycle is fairly light, but then as that cam rotates over, it really starts to pick up some heat
No, I've got this right now at the absolute best let off, just because I don't like shooting this thing almost any other way. So when I've got it here, it extends the draw length out a little bit, but it actually has enough let off for me to shoot it. If I'm shooting this at 70 to 80%, it feels really uncomfortable for me to hold at full draw. Let down, as you might expect, is a little aggressive. I would say a little better than the Bowtech is, but you know, you still know you're letting down a speedy bow. And we'll do one more time for you. That's the part of the draw cycle right there. It's a little rough, but again, with it in the 90% let off setting, it's a whole lot better than it is at like 70 to 80. And that's the list for this year.